We need to do another intro. So, real quick, here's what I want everyone to do. Say your name and then say what the podcast is about in like 30 seconds.
I'm going to tell you right now, John, that I, Matthew Sin, will not do that.
Well, then what are you going to do?
I emphatically refuse to state that the purpose of this podcast is to determine which character in a particular series, piece of media, book, whatever that we're talking about is the best. Because we've already done this twice before. To do it a third time is a disservice to myself, to Brandon, and I think to you. It's just disrespectful at this point.
Well, you know, here at Your Favorite Character Sucks, that's what we do. We repeat the process over and over until we have multiple winners. And then at the end of the season, we have a best of the best episode where those winners go head to head to determine which character is the best from the entire season.
Well, here's what I, Brandon Lee Nash, will tell you about this program, YFCS Pod, as we like to call it on the socials. I'm just here to argue with my friends about dumbass shit that most people don't really care about, but we do, and that's why we're here.
I love it. All right, thank you guys. On today's episode, horror of the 2000s. We're talking films like American Psycho, Jeepers Creepers, Let the Right One In, The Collector, Saw, and Coraline. All right. Well, today we're talking about horror. Yet again, this is our third.
Wait, have we already started?
Yeah, this is our third episode in the horror trilogy. This is the 2000s era, which is an interesting era. I like a lot of the movies, but characters, you know, I think when I say I like a lot of the movies, there are like a handful that I really do like, and then there's a lot that I don't like, but that's always horror, I think. I don't know.
I think
feel like that's how it always is.
The 2000s were definitely a time where they were just throwing a lot of stuff into theaters, and I feel like that's kind of when horror started to go downhill. There was a lot of really basic stuff coming out, but then whenever there was a good horror movie that came out, like there was still some classics that were getting made. But I definitely think that character wise, 2000s are not as strong as some of the earlier decades, but still some good stuff to work with.
It was a little difficult to come up with.
And character wise is Pennywise's son, right? That's one of the things they tried was character wise.
Yeah, he wasn't as scary. It was actually just like a normal clown who was going to children's parties. Yeah. It was kind of fun, actually.
So if you've been with us, this is our third year of doing this, and you would know who that voice is. That's our friend Lou.
Hello.
Our friend Cecy also.
Hey, guys.
On this episode, as they've been the last 2 years.
Our resident horror expert.
It's been that long?
This is our third year doing this.
I don't believe it.
I'm telling you, man, it's crazy. And the craziest thing is that we're all limping into this episode. Like, to make this third year happen was very difficult.
Well, explain some of the circumstances that are going on.
Well, last year we just had COVID. We thought that was
just COVID.
That was hard.
We still have COVID this year.
We still have COVID, and we've added on, surgeries and illnesses and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, so we've really made it difficult for ourselves, but we're here and we're doing it. And we're ready to talk about our favorite horror characters, the best horror characters of the 2000s decade.
Yeah, Cecilia, I don't know if you had heard, but John is sick right now. That's why he's not here.
Oh, no, I did not know. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't show up because I have a cough, and I didn't want to come over there and
He is dedicated to
kill
the cause.
anybody.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate your safety.
Yeah, I'm dedicated to the cause, which is my nickname for Bill Cosby.
Oh, okay. We're not trying to get that kind of sponsorship here.
With that anyway? Off topic, but what happened with
He got convicted.
But he got released, didn't he?
I thought he got released.
In jail, or he's waiting.
I thought he somehow managed to evade.
He got convicted, and then literally like 2 months ago, they released him because of his age and because of his illnesses.
Well, that's cool. They convicted the guy that was in the Jinx documentary. What's that guy's name?
Robert Durst.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, they convicted him.
Nice.
All right. So that's a real-life murderer.
And they
We're talking
figured out
about
the identity of the Zodiac
That's
killer.
a real-life murderer.
It's just some dude.
They found the identity?
Yeah, it's just some
I
old
saw
white
that
guy.
too. Some white guy.
What are you talking about?
Literally, it's just
That's
some
real.
old white guy.
They figured out who it was. Just some old white dude.
Wait, who?
I think his name was like Greg or something.
Yeah, it was just
really
dude.
basic.
It was the dumbest shit. Yeah.
And there's
Wait a minute.
There's
but
pictures.
how are they certain?
Yeah, how are they certain about that? Because there's no way to prove because he's dead now, isn't he?
He is dead.
So How are you? They're just trying to throw somebody out there just to kind of, to close that case. They're like, find the last white dude that died and just put it on him, please.
There's like Facebook photos of these other dudes that would hang out with him. Then they would always make like a little like Zodiac
because they knew.
Joke. That's what people are assuming that they.
There's no fucking way that people knew for the last 4 or 5 decades.
They were just like, yeah, we'll keep this secret, man.
Yeah, there's no friends that are that good that they're like, oh my god, you're the Zodiac killer? That's
just
hilarious.
Just because you're not a good enough friend doesn't mean that other people are not.
Matt, I swear to God, if you kill somebody, I will immediately turn you in for that reward money.
Yeah.
All right, we'll save this for the mass murderer.
Yeah, we'll save this
podcast.
For the best serial killers episode.
Oh Jesus!
I should have known though in the age of podcast detective series that they would discover the killer, the Zodiac killer. It was only a matter of time before those sleuths caught somebody. So, who feels very strongly about their character? I feel very strongly about 2 characters, so I don't feel like I should go first.
I don't feel very strongly about my character.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, okay, I feel very strongly about the film that I want to talk about. Character, like, not as strongly, but I still definitely enjoy it. But out of the ones that I've heard, what we're going to talk about, I feel like Brandon is going to have the strongest case per use.
Bran, you got a pretty strong, I would say, strongest monster character of this decade for sure.
I still agree that, like, we're kind of lacking in the character department.
Like, there's some great movies. We'll talk about them in a minute. But, yeah, character-wise, it's like, I don't know. But, yeah, go ahead. Bran, you think you could start for us?
Sure. All right, I will be discussing the Creeper from the series Jeepers Creepers. And before I get into the character, I'm just obligated to say that we in no way endorse the writer-director of those films.
Glad that you said that, because he's the real creeper.
Yeah, because he's a convicted pedophile / child pornographer, so fuck that guy.
Jesus Christ.
We don't support him in any way.
But he's really good at making creepy characters, and it's clear why.
Oh my god.
The Creeper, aptly named. I don't even know what you don't even really know what he is. I'm going to say a demon, maybe?
Yeah, I was going to say demon is like the closest that they...
Well, and that's better, too. You don't want to have the full story. You want to have some mystery.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. But, yeah, I saw that first film at probably too young of an age.
Mm-hmm.
And it just really stuck with me because it starts off seeming like one of those movies, with just like a deranged redneck or something. It's just some guy in a truck, like hunting them down.
On like the back roads of America.
Yeah, and then they find his house and it's just like plastered wall to wall with preserved dead bodies. That scene is like really disturbing.
Well, is that the house or is that the underground thing?
That's under his house where he takes all the bodies back.
His house is technically, I think they say that it's like an old church. And underneath that old church is, where he has just a mural of people sewn together.
I also saw that there was a deleted scene where the creeper talked. And
yes!
I'm kind of glad they took that out because I think it's, more ominous.
But doesn't he talk with... Because I think later on they kind of make it sound like he's taking people's body parts and using them as his own, right?
Yeah.
And I want to say that
that's definitely what's happening.
I want to say that he mimics the voice of the person he just killed. Like he took their vocal cords.
Okay,
that makes sense.
Pretty terrifying.
And it's horrifying because isn't that the part where it's like he's in the house or whatever and it's really dark and you can't actually see him very well?
Probably, yeah.
I think that the implication was that he took somebody's vocal cords and was pretending to be them so that he could lure them in.
He's kind of like a mix between The Mummy and It, because he comes back every certain number of years like It does.
Yeah,
and then like The Mummy has to like
take
take
The Mummy,
pieces.
you mean like with Brendan Fraser?
The Brendan Fraser Mummy, yeah.
Yeah,
which I love that movie.
Oh yeah, and he's collecting all the body parts in that to rebuild himself.
Yeah.
So he has to come back like every 23 years or something to feed.
He's like a more formidable It because It can be defeated by children, and this guy cannot fucking be stopped.
Well, also, like Cecilia, you were saying you don't really remember that well, but I think that this is kind of similar to the one that I'm going to talk about in a minute, but like the first movie introduces him, but I think the second movie is really where they give you a lot of the
explain
backstory.
That he comes back and shit.
Okay. And what I love about that second one is that like they show the farmer who's literally has his husk. You see the husk of the demon like pinned to the wall with his like wings spread, and he's waiting for him to come back to life so that he can kill him immediately.
Yeah. So like you can kill him, but then he's still going to reform and come back.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to lie. I thought this film was a lot more whimsical, so I'm probably not.
I
haven't seen it since.
Wait, whimsical in what way? What did you watch?
For some reason, I thought the film was like a little campier, you know?
I would say that it's a little bit campier.
But like I said, it's been, since like middle school since I've seen this?
I think the first one is scary.
I did not do any film review for that.
The first one is very scary.
The only reason that I would consider it campy is because it's got Justin Long in it.
Yeah.
And I remember when I watched that the first time, I was like, why is the dude from Dodgeball in this? And then I was watching it.
Too.
Yeah, and like, obviously at the end, he ends up getting caught. And I was just like, how are you going to kill Justin Long? He's such a nice guy. That's what made me not like the movie at first.
Is the first...
But he does a good job.
No, he does a very good job.
So, I mean, yeah, that's probably enough for my introduction. Horrifying flesh-eating demon.
Who wants to go next? Like I said, I'm going to probably argue for a spectrum of characters, actually.
Nah, that's not how this show works.
Yeah, that's just not...
You switched from Jiraiya to Itachi on our Naruto episode.
Same, because I changed the rules once. It's just everything...
Yes.
I thought
the rules
when you started
no
to say that, I thought you were talking about for this episode,
I got real nervous. I'm like, I didn't do my homework on that.
Okay, good. I could talk about mine next if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so I want to talk about the Collector from the movie, The Collector. Again, I think the movie itself is what drew me in, but I feel like that character, the character design, like just the way he looks, there's a little bit of backstory to him that's very interesting to me. I think that he had the potential to be like a modern horror icon.
Like a franchise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super creepy character. The movie itself kind of borders between like a home invasion horror film and then also like torture porn, which I really don't like. But I will say that there's a few kills in that movie that are pretty cool. The second movie, The Collection, not as strong. It just straight up relied on the gore, which is not good. But similar to Jeepers Creepers, it kind of gave you a little bit more backstory on the Collector. But yeah, I'm just going to mostly talk about like his character design and a little bit of that backstory that shows why he deserved to have more recognition than he does.
Well, Cecy, Matt, I can go now if you want me to.
I can go ahead. I'm just going to kind of announce my character. I don't want to say too much because I don't have a whole lot to say about the character, but I'll get into it whenever it's my turn to discuss. But I'm going to be discussing Oscar from Let the Right One In.
Oh, Oscar.
Wait,
okay.
what? What is this film?
Yeah, it's a Swedish
Let the
film.
Right One In.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Again, it's not so much based on the character, but just I felt like the movie was really different than a lot of what we saw come out during that time period. And it had a very interesting storyline. Being a foreign film, there's like a lot of stuff that's not just outright stated, so you have to infer a lot of what the story is. And I thought it was a good character. I thought both of the main characters were good characters, and I'll speak a little to both of them. But I think for a 12-year-old in this horror film, he's a total badass because he does a lot.
When she mentioned that earlier, I was actually surprised because I knew that there was the boy main character, but yeah, I was expecting her to go with the girl vampire, which is like arguably the bigger character. But Oscar definitely is an interesting little dude.
I just watched it for the first time yesterday, which it did like strike like lightning, that movie, because it was a book written in 2005, and then it became a movie in like 2007. Then it became a remake in 2009. Like,
Oh my God.
Yeah, it hit quick.
Yeah.
And I've never seen this.
Yeah, it was big.
I actually didn't know that it was a book. I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, I didn't know that it was a book.
Apparently, so it was a book, and then it gets adapted almost immediately. Because if you think about it, like if a movie's going to come out 2 years later, that means it has to be started like working on.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a book that almost immediately got adapted into a Swedish film, and then almost immediately, as soon as it got released, got adapted into an American film.
Yeah, what was the American film? What was
Let Me In?
Let Me In.
Yeah, I never watched
the book is called Let Me In.
Yeah.
I never watched the American one. I know that it's got Chloe Grace Moretz as the...
Yeah.
Oh,
She just done Hit Girl, and
Yeah.
now she did that.
So I was watching a recap because I'd never seen either, and it was comparing the two. And
I saw that too, bro.
Apparently, like the kid who is Oscar in the original, it also shows him as like an old man, and he's
wow.
he's been serving this vampire his whole life.
Yep.
Okay, so that's in the Swedish version?
The American one.
The American version. Oh, okay, because that's what you infer from this.
It's implied at the end of the Swedish version.
I was going to say, because in the Swedish version, she has somebody else.
She has an old man that starts with her.
Okay.
And then I think Oscar takes over.
Yeah, he kind of takes over for her.
What I want to start, and I don't drink and I don't advocate drinking, but if you want to play a drinking game during this episode, every time we say in the Swedish version, take a drink, and we'll see how drunk you are by the end of this episode. We'll try to say it as much as we can.
In contrast to you not advocating for drinking, I do advocate for drinking. Therefore, canceling you out, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Matt, go ahead and seamlessly introduce your character now that we
he wants me to go
with
first.
Cecy. Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
And John, you know what?
Yeah.
As the person who started this podcast, I am going to just say, I don't want you to pick multiple characters, okay? This is my podcast, and I need you to pick one.
Look, okay,
Who's eating like a sleeve of Oreos right now?
No, it's Kit Kats. He's eating Kit Kats.
No, it's
Matt
actually
Kit Kats.
Twizzlers, so you guys are all fucking wrong.
Twizzlers? That's not
Yeah,
even
that's
worth
not even
it.
a good... Yeah, if you're going to go with anything and Twizzlers, come on, dude.
What a waste.
I
If
like
there-
We're
Twizzlers.
sponsored by Twizzlers.
There's never been a candy that the chasm between the loudness of the wrapper and the quality of the taste is wider than Twizzlers.
Wait, what's wrong with What's wrong with Twizzies?
They're trash?
Wait, what's wrong with Twizzies?
They're not good. But
Wait, why?
They
They're just a
taste
waste.
bad?
You guys don't like licorice?
No.
Texture, taste,
all those are
marketing,
fantastic.
all just
We
all
do need
just
to.
jack.
We do need to say our
Trash.
favorite Halloween candy for this episode, which is
Twizzlers.
Reese's.
Reese's are decent, but the problem is there's too much
I was gonna
unwrapping because the miniatures.
the minis, the individually wrapped ones, those are the best.
No, but the problem is they're too much work. If somebody already peeled them for me, then maybe.
Give me a king pack
God.
of Reese's.
As you're ripping open Twizzlers, what do you mean?
Also, a Twizzler pack is just one rip, and then you have like 40 Twizzlers. How many packs are you
No,
opening,
he
Matt?
has individually wrapped
They're for
Halloween
Halloween,
Twizzlers.
bro. Yeah.
Oh God, just the Slim Jim
They're for
Twizzlers.
Halloween, which, by the way, listeners, it is October 24th currently. Okay,
Got 300
So-
pieces of candy left to eat.
I'm going to argue for one character, which is going to be a twist because I really, 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 really love a different character, but I don't think that character it doesn't have a strong enough argument. I don't think one
So you're
character
not
speaks.
arguing for your favorite character, just who you think is the best character?
I think I always do that. I always go for the best character.
That's lame, though.
I think that my favorite character, and I think a character that speaks for itself. I don't have to argue for that much. Patrick Bateman, the main character of American Psycho, which came out at the very beginning of this decade, the 2000s.
Do you mean Paul Allen?
And no, I mean, he gets confused for a lot of different people, right? Because they're all interchangeable. Who is Patrick Bateman?
Or
He's
does
the yuppie.
he not know who he is himself?
Correct.
No, because they are all a gestalt identity of yuppie capitalist culture, which, by the way, the most terrifying thing, capitalism, they embody that. Anyway, that movie is mesmerizing. Like, when I watch it, I can't do anything else but watch it. It's just so... It brings me in, pulls me in so much. I love that movie. I love Christian Bale's performance. I think it's my favorite Christian Bale performance.
Really?
I think so. Oh, yeah, definitely, actually. I really love that character.
I would say that's probably
now-
like as far as Christian Bale goes, that's one of the roles where like I can't distinguish between like he soaked in that role so heavily.
Yes.
He like really dedicated to it.
I also think that Jigsaw deserves to be on this list, and no one selected Jigsaw, which blows my mind because he's so definitive for this 2000s era. Like, he's the one that gets the most, I think, franchise repeats. Like, there's so many Saw movies.
But
And
that's my issue with Jigsaw.
I hate
is
torture
that
porn.
I feel like the farther you get into it, the more that they develop the character, but I feel like it's just the worse the character gets.
Oh, I
Like,
agree. I agree. And I'm not arguing that the sequels make him better. In fact, I think the original and maybe like one sequel that gives you a little more backstory might make him better. But really, the character, as I thought more about who the character is, I really enjoyed it because it is torture porn, and it sucks that it did kind of revive the torture porn genre a little bit and like mainstream it because I don't like torture porn. But he is a character that actually, like, some thought went into him. Like, he's not just like killing people. Like, he literally has an ideology. There are philosophers who agree with the concepts that he's actually peddling. Maybe they might not agree with his actions, but there's a philosophical line that he is staying on, which is pretty interesting to me. And so, I don't know. I'm going to probably go back and forth and mention both of those characters throughout the whole thing. My favorite character, Patrick Bateman, but I think Jigsaw is a very strong character for the 2000s horror. So I'm gonna talk about both of them throughout.
Problem is those films suck.
I think American Psycho is a very, very good movie.
Yeah.
You're saying that the Saw movie sucked though?
Yeah, they're just not good.
I think the first one is
First
super
one's
solid.
alright. I think it's solid. I think the ending twist is not really that as clever as people think it is, but
The ending twist of
I
what?
feel like when I watched it the first time,
he's sitting in the middle of the room the whole time. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, cool. Like,
as a dead body, he literally, if for no other reason,
He
the
laid
fact
there
that
for
man,
hours.
yes, the man that dedication to not move, incredible.
well, and the twist in the movie is that you think he's speaking to them through a PA system the whole time, and the cops are like looking for him. So you're like, are the cops going to find him before he kills these two guys? And then you're like, oh no, they're not, because it's a recording and he's just in the middle of the room.
And
Yeah.
like just the last moment where like the one dude leaves to go get help or whatever, and you think that it's good, and then he gets up and closes the door. Like that shot was so dope.
Yep.
And terrifying.
And speaking of the end, the film score of that movie is also iconic. Dun dun
Yeah.
dun 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 dun. Like, yeah.
Are you doing ABBA?
No, that was Saul.
Interesting.
That I just want to also real quick point out that the director on that one, James Wan,
Oh yeah, James
Like, I
Wan.
feel like-
Didn't that start his career or no?
that's what launched him. And what sucks is that he's mostly been attached to pretty crappy projects since then.
Yeah. What else?
He's
He
definitely
did-
one of those people that just got attached to it. Like he did that Dead Silence movie where it's like dolls that are alive or something. He also did Aquaman, which is one of the worst horror films I've ever seen. Jason Momoa was not scary, so
No. Yeah, he did Insidious. He did Saul. He did The Conjuring. All right, Matt, we got nowhere else to go. So tell us who your character is.
So what's funny is we've already sort of touched on it. The 2007 crime drama mystery Zodiac.
No way.
nice.
No, I'm just fucking
It's
kidding.
Greg?
Absolutely not.
It's Greg, Greg the Killer.
I think I actually tried to look it up, and it was like Gary or something fucking stupid like
Oh,
that.
yeah,
Even
Gary. It's
Oh,
Gary.
yeah, Gary.
But
If I got killed by somebody named Gary, I would just.
but you
it would
wouldn't
be
know his
terrible.
name was Gary, which makes it terrifying.
Yelling Gary.
Sorry, go on.
No, but it's not Zodiac. Featuring Robert Downey Jr. Fuck that. Look, I was looking at all these films, and I thought to myself, what would be a good film? Because there aren't any good horror films. You know what I'm saying? There just aren't any.
No.
Not that I enjoy. But I found something that was pretty good. I think you guys are actually going to quite like this because it's adjacent to other cool stuff. And the
It's
film sets
Jason?
about it. It's Jason X.
Oh.
That's what I thought he said too.
No, but actually, the character I think is the best character in all of 2000s horror is Coraline from the film Coraline, which is based upon the novel by
Before you
Neil Gaiman.
proceed, did you happen to rent Coraline on Amazon Prime last night?
I did. Because I was thinking about it. I was like, you know what?
I was wondering who rented that on my account. I was trying to determine.
It was me because I was thinking about it. And I was
clues
like,
were
okay, I could talk about Pan's Labyrinth, but you know what would be even better than that? American Pan's Labyrinth. Am I wrong?
Is that what Coraline is?
I mean, I figure like
It's
there's,
written by a British author too.
I think there's a lot of
I'm not
similarities.
gonna
certainly.
lie. I just found out that was a Neil Gaiman story literally
Yeah.
weeks ago when John mentioned that. I had no idea.
Really?
I thought that was a Tim Burton fever dream.
Wait, Tim Burton's not even involved in Coraline, is he?
No.
Wasn't he an executive producer? If it's stop motion and it's creepy, I just assume it's Tim Burton.
Well,
Oh,
I will
yeah, no,
say
that does
I
make
will
sense.
say that Coraline is scary.
It is.
I've never seen that film, so unfortunately I can't speak to it.
I've
It's a
not
good
seen it in
one.
a long time.
Well, it's rented for the next.
Yeah, we got 24 hours to watch it,
I got
right?
24 hours to.
Yeah, you should have told me you were renting it. I could have watched it.
I'm sorry, Keith David is in that movie?
Well, no,
That's
because
awesome.
The cat.
it's stop motion.
Oh, and Ian McShane.
Ian McShane is also in it. No, I actually do think Coraline's a pretty good film. I don't know if this
Oh
is
yeah,
good.
definitely.
It's
Does
a,
it
it's a
classify
good
as
film,
horror,
and
right?
It's
I would
terrifying.
say
Classified as family/horror. So
family/horror. I think that's
you're
the only
within
film
it.
that falls in that category.
Well, that's what I was going to say too, and maybe it needed to do this, but the 2000 generation. Now I guess we can start talking about it. There's a lot of horror plus something else in the 2000s.
And shouldn't it be that way?
Absolutely.
So, like, Cecy, your movie
mine was
is
romance.
which
What film is
sounds
that?
like it doesn't make sense. Let the Right One In is classified as horror
The
romance.
Swedish version.
The Swedish version of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just be aware that we are actually talking about the Swedish version right now.
Are you talking
Swedish
about the
version.
Swedish
Okay.
version of Let the Right One In?
Only the Swedish version moving
Not
forward.
to
Exactly.
be confused with the American Let Me In.
But Cecy, you chose Oscar, which is how they say it in the Swedish version. Oscar.
Oh yeah, there's that hard K.
And also, I was looking at something that says that Ellie, who is like Ellie or Eli, that we don't actually know if that is a girl. I don't know. Did you ever see that or pick up on that?
Yeah, there's like a scene where it
Very
cuts-
creepy scene.
Yeah, very creepy.
That was a scene that I
where-
did not want to see.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it was not received well in my house either. But yeah, it's just like a
genital
cut.
scar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they
It
show us a
literally-
genital scar.
Yeah, for so that you understand, Matt, there is a point where it shows the girl changing, and it just
Yes.
shows her genitals, but it's just like a smooth Ken doll
But
with
is
scars
it so?
on it.
So because
why?
she says,
She says I'm not a girl.
and you think that means that she's a vampire, so she's not a girl. But then there's a lot of I was looking at stuff that was saying that she might not be a girl, she might be a boy.
According to the recap I watched, they were castrated as a young boy.
In the book.
I'm guessing.
Yeah, so in the movie, we don't know if they actually were intending her to be a girl or if they were saying that she's a boy and she just looks androgynous or what it is. And I say she, I should just say they.
Yeah, there's so many layers to that. That's like,
Yeah, there's a lot to that movie.
why is that? I don't even why would that be a thing? I guess because of her age, like maybe they lived in a time where that was like something that they did, like they just turned them into a eunuch or something. I don't
know.
So many questions that are posed that just don't get answered.
Right, and I don't mind that, actually.
No, definitely gives like a good sense of mystery to the entire thing.
There's a scene where Oscar is dealing with his father who like starts sharing drinks with this guy.
That guy was so creepy.
Yeah, that guy was creepy, and I was wondering what they were trying to say with that. Was like that his dad had left the mom for like a gay relationship or what it was. I was trying to figure out what it was, but I mean, Oscar leaves because he's like, oh yeah, my dad's drinking again. I'm just going to leave. And then he goes home, and the girl on the review video was like, they don't really explain anything about how he gets home. I'm like, I don't need to see how he gets home. I get it. He left. Like, I don't need
He hitchhikes.
Yeah, he
It does
hitchhikes.
yeah.
Also, the entire thing takes place in a pretty small town. I feel like you see him just wandering around the town quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and it's such a terrible place for a vampire to be like doing its business. Is a place where like everyone knows each other. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a bad idea.
It's very clear when people start going missing.
Well, the guy at the very beginning is just like terrible at his duties. That's why I'm like, was he with her since he was 12? Because he's obviously not good at this, or has he gotten worse in time? Like, he's like getting caught every turn. Like, he's just making the worst decisions for murdering people in a small town.
He makes terrible decisions.
Yeah.
So Matt, he's like, what is the word for like when the vampire has a human that they keep with them? It's their something.
Familiar?
Is it their familiar? I thought that's like a witch's summon.
Familiar is the correct word.
I feel like there's another word.
If you watched What We Do in the Shadows.
Well, but I feel like there's another term that I've heard before.
I know it's
Thrall?
A thrall, yeah. No?
I feel like there's a lot of words that could be used.
Well,
You're telling me
anyway,
there's a like particular word?
In the American version, it shows the old man, and it showed a clip where he said, I think I almost want to get caught because I'm tired of doing this.
okay, that makes more sense actually, because he's doing some really stupid things in the movie.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like in most cases of familiars in vampire movies, it's a thing where it's, they do the bidding for a certain time for the promise of being turned into a vampire. Whereas in this one, it almost just seems like the old man is her caretaker. Like,
Right. Well, and
I don't think there's even a promise to be turned into a vampire. I feel like he's just doing it to take care of her.
Yeah, it seems like he's like affectionate to her in some way. And that's why I'm not sure if they
were
formed
together
a
as
bond,
children.
Yeah,
exactly.
if they were like as children and then like it just kind of morphed as he turned older, or...
And in the book, he's a pedophile, I think.
Oh, God.
Okay, because I got that vibe too, but I didn't want to go there.
Yeah, in the book, he is a pedophile. So, like, maybe they fell in love when he was a kid, and he now just continues to have an affection for kids in the book. In the movie, they cut that out because it's just a distraction. Like, it's very weird and isn't necessary for the main plot. But yeah, that movie's pretty cool. I liked it. It's not scary necessarily, but it is horror for sure because it's just
I will say
grotesque.
The one part that I found horrifying, and it's funny because it's not even the vampire that's being horrifying, but
the kids,
Oscar,
the bullies.
Yeah, exactly. Oscar is dealing with bullies the entire time, and they're not just school bullies. Like, the scene that always stuck with me is when he's swimming at the public pool, and they literally are just starting to drown him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's very intense. I love that scene.
So the reason why I chose him as a character is because he's kind of a total badass. I mean, like, he makes out with the vampire as a 12-year-old.
Yes.
He, like, stands up to these school bullies. He, like, can hold his breath for a super long time.
Yeah.
And,
he's neglected.
Just, like, he faces all these challenges and, like, hardships, and he just, like, keeps trucking along. Like, he's just this really weird little kid, but he faces some really hard circumstances.
He's neglected by his parents, yeah.
Yeah, his parents neglecting him. He's just, like, really small. He's got these bullies that are, like, harassing him, like, pretty much trying to kill him. I mean, they try to, like, get him into, like, the ice underwater, and through all of that, he's a total badass.
And that scene with the pool, like, so the bullies are horrifying, but then also the fact that, like, in most horror movies, you don't see children die. I feel like that's usually the cutoff point.
Yeah.
And in that scene, like, don't you literally see the bully's head just fall in the water?
The pool, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
she messes
She just decapitates him.
Yeah.
I always loved that scene, though. I thought...
that seems awesome.
He's just underwater, and then all of a sudden, just blood and a freaking head floating.
I think that movie is very well directed. The shots, it's got some great shots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I wanted to speak to it more as a movie than, like, any specific character. I'm just going to pick that character.
I think Oscar's great. I think Yelling
I think what you said about him, like, the fact that he's so self-sufficient and bond that he forms with her, I definitely think he is. Honestly, I'd completely forgotten, like, the character's name and everything, but thinking about it now, I'm like, yeah, no, that kid, he sticks with you, too. He's a weird little dude, but he's interesting. Yeah,
and both those characters are, like, kind of haunting in their own way.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think that bully is the scariest part of the movie, too.
So how old is the vampire? Is she a pedophile?
She's supposed to be, like, 12, but...
12-year-old body.
You're a vampire, you're eternally 12. I mean, that's the thing that sucks.
You're saying your mind doesn't age?
Older.
It doesn't seem like it. Honestly, she seems...
Oh, she's still, like, immature?
She seems childlike, but she does seem more exposed than he is, because there is a point where she, like, crawls into bed with him, and she's the one who kisses him, and then they're, like, alone in this kind of abandoned place together, and she's like, oh, what did you bring me here to do? So she's definitely, like, more...
Yeah.
Am I mistaken, or is there, like... Am I just remembering this incorrectly, but isn't there a scene where, like, she's, like, supposed to be masturbating on the other side of the wall or something?
I don't remember that.
That was not there. Nope.
What did you watch?
Weird. Awkward.
I watched the... I don't know. Not
is this in the American or the Swedish version? I need to know.
I watched the underground version.
This is the Italian version.
Oh, shit.
It's something else.
Hi, podcast listeners. Sorry to interrupt the episode, but I wanted to let people that are first-time listeners know that we have plenty of episodes in our catalog for you to check out. This is our third horror episode. We already did an episode on the best horror characters of the 90s, and we did one on the 80s. So if you like horror, check those out, but there's plenty of other episodes to check out as well. We've done Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter. We've done more niche things like BoJack Horseman, The Guyver, and we've got plenty of episodes left coming out this season like The Office, Teen Titans. We figure out who the best character is on Amazon's The Boys. So if you're not already a subscriber, hit the subscribe button, please, and check out some other episodes. Also, don't forget to stay tuned to the very end when we choose the best character in all of 2000's horror.
All right, back to the show. You're picking the main girl from Coraline? Is that who you're doing?
The character's name is Coraline.
Okay, Coraline. Duh. I'm stupid. But yeah, tell us more about her. What makes her special?
It's a good film. Like I said, I haven't seen it in a while too, and that's why I didn't even really think about it when we were talking about.
What is the whole deal with her fantasy world? Like, why is she going there?
What do you mean? Why is she going there? It's for the same reason that anybody goes to a fantasy world, dude. I told you it was exactly the same as
Pan's Labyrinth.
Pan's Labyrinth. Well, it's not exactly the same.
So she has a stepfather who's
she has parents, and they're not abusive or horrible, anything like that. But they certainly
they're just kind of neglectful, right?
Yeah, they're just a little bit neglectful. They're very focused on their work. They're not very supportive of her creative tendencies and things of that sort. So that's sort of the fantasy world sort of thing like that. But I don't really care about any of that stuff. The story itself is, I don't know. It's kind of like a mix of Alice in Wonderland and Pan's Labyrinth. But what I want to talk about when it comes to Coraline is the movie itself. She finds this other world, right? The other side. And it's sort of like a mirror universe where there's this figure called the Other Mother. And it's just got your typical sort of escapism elements and things of that sort. But it's also just legitimately a very scary film.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I will say that like a big thing in that movie is in the other side or whatever, in the alternate universe, like the Other Mother has button eyes.
Oh, yeah. It's super fucking scary.
The aesthetic is terrifying.
Her whole thing is, isn't she literally like taking the eyes out of children?
So her thing is the Other Mother is trying to lure kids in this house. I don't remember what it's called. It's like these pink apartments. And she lures them into her universe, offers them all these things that they don't get in the real world, and then cuts a deal with them as sort of like that. Which
I think that's what's horrifying about the movie is you're watching like a young girl, and the whole time you're watching it, like at first she goes there and she's like, "Oh, this place is awesome." But you're watching it and you're like, no, it's clearly not awesome. You're going to be killed. Like, you need to stop doing this. And so it's terrifying to watch her just get closer and closer to this spider's web, basically, that she's falling into.
Yeah, and I think the character design of the Other Mother, once her power sort of breaks down, after they make that deal and play the game and she's winning, Coraline's winning, she does have like a lot of spidery elements and things like that. And what's really cool about that film, actually, is that there's a lot of... I don't know, the visuals are really, really nice in that film. I was sort of just watching on the side at the beginning while I was doing something else, but then I decided to just sit down and kind of actually watch it because it's actually really good. The color palettes are all really good in that film. They sort of change. You know how like in, I guess even in like Wizard of Oz, sort of when you go to Oz, right, everything becomes sort of color and things like that. There's elements of that. But you also notice that even though the colors change between the other world and the real world, there's also a lot of similarities and things of that sort. I don't know if that's supposed to be like some sort of like underpinned message of, when you go to the other side, things aren't even going to be as good as you think they're going to be type thing, but I don't know.
Yes. Yeah, the grass always greener kind of thing.
I don't know what there's necessarily to say about Coraline. I think that as far as the character itself, she has a lot of the traits that are very typical of a young female heroine. Like, she's creative, she...
And you said she overcomes in the end she wins a game? What's the...
Yeah, basically, she wants to escape, right? She figures out that, obviously, she has a lot of, I guess, power over the situation herself, whereas a lot of kids are sort of subjected to the whims of whatever forces are trying to move them around, right? Because if you think of, like, in Pan's Labyrinth, she's just sort of a girl that's... exists at the whim of all these other powerful beings under that sort of control her life. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to Coraline, she actually, she's the one who actually chooses to go out and seek this other world. She can leave whenever she wants. So what ends up happening is...
Isn't it like implied that she's the one that made that world?
That creates the world? I think so, probably. Something like that. Well, no, because also, part of the thing is that kids previously that had existed in that apartment had been taken by the Other Mother already. That's part of it.
True.
I like the character. She has a lot of, like I said, things that are the same, but just a little bit adjusted. And I really like the art of the film. Bran knows I fucking hate stop motion just in general. Stop motion might be my least favorite fucking thing in the world. But you know what? I kind of was able to look past it for this film because it's just so good.
In that film, I really like her best friend, Wybie, which I found out that character isn't even like in the book. They made him specifically for the movie.
Yes.
But he has like a mask that has like a projector on it where he like turns it, and it's a very creepy... I saw how they animated it, and it's just a super cool like process to make it happen, but
Nightmare Before Christmas is stop motion.
I saw that it was. Yeah, I fucking hate Nightmare Before Christmas. I saw that they actually 3D printed a lot of the parts they used for the for the movie, which is pretty cool.
So I was dead set on Patrick Bateman because he represents so much of what I hate, and he does it so perfectly. Like, he's a satire. That character is a satire of capitalism and fucking materialism and all that shit. Mm-hmm. He's literally like eating and murdering poor people and women. Like, he's very abusive and sexist, misogynistic, and all that stuff.
Wait,
like,
did you say he eats people?
He does eat. There's like a scene.
I don't think you ever see it, but he admits it when he's calling his lawyer or whatever.
Right. He says he ate him or whatever.
Oh.
He finally confesses to like all the murders he's done, and he starts crying, and he's like, I even ate a little bit or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that part. Holy
yeah.
I do remember him confessing, but
he's so disgusting because he literally, like, it's kind of, I don't know. It's a satire of reality, which that to me makes it even more terrifying because, like, you're watching it and you don't realize what you're watching, but you're just watching reality. A super rich, powerful guy who commits murder and even admits to committing murder, and he gets away with it. We mentioned Robert Durst earlier. Robert Durst admitted to murdering a guy in Texas, but he got away with it because he had so much money and such good lawyers. Like, he literally calls his lawyer and tells him, and the guy's like, oh, no.
He laughs it off.
He laughs it off. And there's a moment where you're like, did he actually kill those people? But I think he did. I think that the movie really sets you up for, like, they all get confused with each other because they're all the same fucking piece of shit. Like,
but it's so bizarre at the end when he goes back to the apartment because he is trying to...
But that woman, she berates him.
He's trying to admit what he did, and the apartment is perfectly cleaned out and repainted, and the realtor is like, I think you should leave. And so he can't even, like, accept what he's done because it just got erased.
I will
That's what I'm
also
saying.
say that
Patrick, go ahead.
Him like murdering the homeless people and like
prostitutes.
Yeah, and prostitutes, like people that are considered lower in society, and the fact that like that's absolutely something that happens regularly where these people just, because they're not considered an important part of society,
their murders never get searched up.
Exactly. And the sex scenes in that movie are what made me insanely uncomfortable. Like
when he looks at himself in the mirror.
Exactly. Like all that was just so grotesque. And I want to point out that movie is like something that surprises a lot of people is that it's directed by a woman. And
written. And the screenplay is written by a woman. The screenplay is written by a woman. Yeah.
And it's one of the most like disgusting and intense movies.
Oh, on purpose. Yeah. I think that and I don't know, Cecy, you can speak to it if you how you feel about when you're watching it, but I think the characters that we don't get very much emotion from any of the male characters. They're all pieces of shit. But whenever you're watching that movie, the prostitutes, like, we really get to see like the terror in their faces and stuff like that. I think that, and the women get treated so poorly in that movie. Anytime there's not a woman on the scene, and I feel like that movie is horrifying. Like, some people say it's not a scary movie, but I think if you are a woman, that movie is terrifying because it's saying that, like, if you're a rich, white, powerful man, you can get away with killing women and treating them however you want. It doesn't matter.
No, it's a pretty terrifying movie. I only watched it once, not too long ago, but I walked away from it just like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
what
it's gross.
The fuck? And yeah, I just felt super gross. And I was like, this is one of those movies that you have to like watch more than once to really like understand what's trying to be said. And I was like, and I have no desire to ever to go back and watch this movie again.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, I'd say the rich women also don't have much personality going on. His fiance is just concerned about like appearances and, doing like popular stuff in public.
Right.
And then his like girlfriend on the side is just constantly drugged out.
No, it's that movie. The villain is not even Patrick Bateman, in my opinion, because Patrick Bateman tries to admit at the end what's going on.
It's the just that society.
It's society. It's society and capitalism. And like literally, if you are a rich white man, you can't do wrong. You can't. Even if you're the worst human being ever, you still get away with murder.
I was going to say one thing that I've heard about when they were making the film that it was like surprised me is Willem Dafoe's character.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard that they recorded, like whenever they were doing takes.
The multiple scenes?
Yeah, they would do one where it was implied that the detective knew that Patrick did it, one where he was thinking Patrick did it, but he wasn't sure, and one where he had no idea that Patrick did it. Yeah. And they would kind of, mix those takes together so that you can never actually know what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I walked away from it. Like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I have to go back and watch it, and I'm not going to do it.
But I don't think, rewatching it doesn't help. Because it's made to be where you don't know.
But yeah, the thing is
it's not just confusing, but it's intentional.
But again, it's a critique on society because we know that these people are getting away with murder, and they're still getting away with murder. Like, it doesn't matter if you know. Mm-hmm. And that's terrifying. So that's Patrick Bateman, and also the fucking monologues are just so good. The beginning, the opening scene where he describes his regimen. I mean, consumerism.
As he peels off that,
and he says
face mask, and he just has that dead blank stare. He
says that I'm not real.
Yeah,
he basically is saying I am just a part of this, like I said, Gestalt personality. This thing. We're all the same. We're all looking for the same thing. Who can have the most? Who can quote the most music culture? It's all empty. It's so empty.
I will say his musical taste slaps though.
You have to talk about the scene. You have to talk about the Huey Lewis, that whole monologue.
Huey Lewis, Phil Collins, Whitney Houston. It's all bangers.
It's so good.
Okay, sure, he killed some people, but he can throw a party playlist together. So maybe that's why we can forgive him for his mistakes.
My favorite line. There's so many good lines, and Christian Bale delivers them so well. But my favorite line is whenever he gasps. He doesn't even gasp. He just moans whenever the card gets presented.
Yes,
and he moans and is so upset about it. And I love that line so much because it's just so so absurd. But yeah, someone gets killed over that, which is crazy. Mm-hmm. That's Patrick Bateman. I think that character's great. And I love that movie, that story. All right, Lou, I watched The Collector, and I thought that was a...
I'm getting so much negative feedback on this, all right? I'm sorry I made you watch it, okay?
I thought it was a C-rate movie, but tell me about the character and why it collected you.
Okay, you want to talk about... You talked about, two characters. I will say that I also really liked Arkham, his character, the main person in that film. So
the protagonist, kind of?
That's the thing. He's a thief, and you're not really a character you want to root for. So the whole thing is he's a day laborer working for this rich family who trusts him, and they accept him. They think he's a good guy, even though he's an ex-felon and everything. But then you find out that his wife is or his ex-wife is in debt to a bookie and needs to get the money immediately. And so out of desperation, he only has until midnight that night to be able to get the money. So he goes back to the house that he was working at to be able to steal some of their, they have a jewel, I think, that he's trying to get or whatever. So that character is interesting to me because you kind of want to root for him, but you also don't really, because he's definitely taking advantage. And then, the film, I will say that me and Cecilia rented that movie on a whim. We just found it one time. And we watched it. We had no idea going into it. So it starts off, and you almost think it's going to be a home invasion thing where ends up being a worse guy than you realize.
Yeah.
And then while the home invasion stuff is going on, you find out that there's a serial killer that's also in the house.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
All these traps. So I love that setup because it turns so quickly. What you don't see in the first movie that they kind of talk more about in the second movie, you find out that he's an entomologist, and that's why he collects people. In the second movie, they go to his hideout, which is an abandoned factory, and you see that he literally has displays where he puts corpses on display as if they're bugs in a museum, where he flays them and puts them on display, and that's what his collection is. In the first movie, they really say that his collection is that
just one
anytime
person.
that he goes, he goes into a house and he kills everybody except one person, which I also found extremely terrifying. He carries that red trunk around with him and just nails people, like he puts the cuffs around them, but nails them into it so they can't leave.
Yeah.
So the grotesqueness of the film obviously like sticks with you. I don't like some of the over the top. If you watch the second movie, the first movie is like nothing compared to it.
I think honestly the concept is not what I hate as much. I think that, or not, I don't hate any part of it really. It was just fine, but I think the visual effects and stuff like that, I think if it had a bigger budget, it could have been done better.
Yeah, and that's another
Some
thing.
of it's
that,
okay.
Like,
This film has 28% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that...
The Collector?
The Collector, right? 2009 horror/thriller. I'm not saying that is an end-all, be-all.
No.
But, you know...
I didn't hate it.
And I definitely think that critic-wise, yeah, that's what it deserves. It probably deserves lower, to be honest with you. But
you're intrigued by the character.
I'm intrigued by the character, and for horror junkies, like I think that it delivers what you're going in for on most levels. And then there's also another thing that I love about that film. So Arkham gets out, right? Like he makes it out. So again, I'm between Arkham and the Collector himself. I think the Collector's design, his glowing eyes, which they don't really explain at all, his weird leather mask that's like very BDSM. Right. It's all very creepy. The design of the character is cool. But then in Arkham, he gets out of the house. Like, he makes it out.
He's also fucking like a master knife thrower or some shit. Like,
oh, yeah, and he has, like, trained dogs and stuff. The Collector
that dog
is just
comes out of nowhere.
And that's another thing that they don't really... Like, in the second movie, he literally, like, fist fights mercenaries. And it's weird. But Arkham himself, he gets out of the house. But then he sees the little girl is still in the house because she's been hiding the whole time, the daughter of the family, right? And he had formed a bond with her because he has a daughter that's the same age.
Yeah, exactly.
What you might not know, John, is that there's a cut of the film where when he makes it out of that house, he turns around and sees the little girl in the window, and he just leaves.
Oh, shit.
They cut the last 30 minutes out of the film, and he just leaves, and that's how it ends, with him leaving the girl in the house.
What the fuck?
Wow.
Yeah, that's one of the cuts of the film. And it literally, so it's only like about an hour and 10 minutes because they just cut off the rest. But then, yeah, the actual cut, he goes back in and he gets her. And then he's the one that gets taken at the end. And yeah, but the Collector
I was very
himself,
frustrated. I thought that so many of those deaths and moments, I don't know, I thought there were so many moments where he could have actually killed the Collector and didn't. There were so many moments where he was like sitting there like under a table and he's like, oh shit, I can't move. And he's watching the Collector kill somebody, and I'm like, you're right there, bro. Get up and...
But because of all the traps, and because of the fact that the Collector is, for some reason, insanely overpowered. Like, Arkham, while he's watching people die, he's like the girl, the teenage daughter that comes home.
Yeah.
Like, he sees her and tries to tell her not to do something because he is being aware of the traps.
Yeah.
And yet she still gets killed. And then again, in the second movie, so they talk about how he's an entomologist, and there's also kind of like a backstory where the Collector's father was also like a scientist and somebody who worked in a museum. Like he was a museum curator, and there's a little bit of backstory. You see some like newspaper clippings about how you never see the Collector's name. You never get any information you never see his face either. Even towards the end of that second film, like basically Arkham makes it out again. But his whole thing is like, I'm going to find this guy and I'm going to kill him. So he looks up all the registered entomologists in a 50-mile radius and just like basically goes door to door because he's also in the first movie, they mentioned that he's the only one that saw him without his mask. He recognized that the Collector was another one of the day laborers that was there working, like removing a wasp nest because again, he's an entomologist. And so basically at the end of the second one, Arkham finds him. You never see his face. You see the Collector open the door.
Arkham got collected, though, right?
So he gets collected at the end of the first one. It starts out with a huge club scene that's like very reminiscent of. There's a Hellraiser scene where Hellraiser Pinhead kills an entire club full of people, and the Collector does the same thing in the sequel. Like he literally has like saw blades that come out of the ceiling and he kills an entire club. It's ridiculous. It's so bad.
This sounds like a B-rated film.
You want to get even better when they get to... So basically, Arkham gets released and the Collector kidnaps a teenage girl who was at the club. and then Arkham gets hired or like forced by some mercenaries to go find her. It's very much like they turn it into like a Doom / Resident Evil deal where the Collector has like minions that he's drugged and they're basically like zombie people that attack. It's very bad. I hate it.
Jesus.
But yeah, so basically the entire middle part where they're at his warehouse is just dog shit. But then at the end when Arkham is like, even though he makes it out, he's like, I'm going to find this dude because I don't want this to happen to anybody else. And yeah, you get some more of that backstory. So again, like character design, I just think that suit, the way that the dude sets traps, his whole motive and wanting to collect people, I think he's a terrifying character. And I think that if they had not gone the torture porn route and if they had focused more on the character development and like you were saying, John, there's like a lot of things that don't like why is he a throwing knife expert? Why is he like a dog training? Like he has a freaking
he like throws knives with such crazy accuracy. He's like a Jason character.
What do you mean?
He's like an unstoppable juggernaut.
Well, see, and that's the other thing too is that like he's really not in the second one because there's multiple times where he gets fought off. Like he gets
runs
injured.
away.
Yeah, he kind of retreats into his.
Oh, but he doesn't do that in the first one, yeah.
Because he's in his own like warehouse where he has all these traps and stuff set up. He's able to like retreat and then come back and then But yeah, I really like the character design. I really thought that he was creepy. The first time you see him, like when you see Arkham in this house and you're like, okay, he's invaded the house, but then you just see that there's somebody else in there. That shocked me the first time I watched it, and I thought it was a really cool concept.
Yeah, that's a really cool concept, and it could have been a good storyline, but they could have like toned it way down.
You used to be hardcore, Cecilia.
Yeah, I can't. I just watched the recap, and I was like, no, it's too much.
Yeah,
don't feel bad.
It's out of hand.
I don't even like the idea of American Psycho anymore, so we're all getting old.
You know, I do want to talk about Jeepers Creepers, but I feel like we're talking about trap making, and I feel like there's a civil engineer who gets diagnosed with cancer and whose marriage falls apart, and then he tries to kill himself, and then he survives. No, this is Jigsaw. What's his actual name?
You can't argue for two characters.
Jigsaw. What's his name?
Do they?
I feel like most of us have argued for two characters. I kind of almost argued for two characters.
His name is John Kramer. John Kramer, he almost dies by suicide, but he survives. And he goes through a very painful car accident, survives it, and he comes out the other side a changed person. And he's got a new philosophical perspective, which is that if, now that he's gone through this near-death experience, he's seen that he was being a little whiny baby, that he needed to see death and overcome it in order to really appreciate life. And what is he doing? He's kind of like the Buddha. He has seen Nirvana, and now he's coming back. He could have just accepted Nirvana and lived a happy life, but he's decided to come back and teach enlightenment to others. And so what is he doing? He's putting them through near-death experiences as well, having them overcome that so that they can see and appreciate life more fully. And really, that is, the truth of the matter is that life is precious because of suffering and because it has a time limit, and he's trying to teach people that if they can overcome suffering and if they can see that there is a limit, then they will finally appreciate their own lives.
Is that a part of the film? I don't remember that part of the film.
Yeah, that's what John Kramer's doing.
But he says that, but then really in the first film, it's not so much about him trying to make people appreciate life as it is him judging people's lives. He judges people and thinks that, like in the first film, am I mistaken? Doesn't it show backstory of like all the fucked up things the other people have done to each other?
Yes,
and that's why he's doing it to like he's talking like he's the Buddha. Which honestly, John, I think it's kind of funny. It's funny because in the second and third and whatever, there's a character that is like his disciple.
Exactly,
he got tortured. And she got tortured and then realized, like, oh, yeah,
and she obtains enlightenment.
Is this a thing?
She obtains enlightenment.
That's John.
I think I've only seen up to maybe Saw 3, and I don't remember, because, I don't know. I feel like the whole point of those films is just...
Honestly, it sounds more to me like he's one of those people that's like, well, I suffered growing up, so everyone else should.
Yeah, and I was going to say, a really bad car crash, he suffered, but making somebody saw off their own limb might be a little bit more hardcore than a car accident.
I don't know.
Well, no, the car accident he got into, he had a piece of metal impale his body, and he had to pull it out himself and crawl back like up to the hospital and stuff like that. So he does go through quite a bit of physical torture.
He makes somebody's rib cage explode in one of the films. I feel like there's a little bit of a disconnect between what he experienced and what he's making others experience.
You know, he's a civil engineer. He's trying to use his engineering talents. He's putting them to good use. And he's just trying to make the world a better place, because if everyone could just realize how precious life is and how they're wasting their life, then we could all appreciate it better and do better things. But yeah, his disciples always fail. That's another trope of the film. And many times it's because they don't allow people a chance to escape the traps. They make traps that are inescapable. And he punishes one of his disciples for doing that, because she's being vindictive rather than a prophet. Like he
pedagogical.
is.
But doesn't he also...
Exactly.
This argument is making me worry for John.
Cecilia's worried about you, John.
Well, you know, I think you do have to go through some hardships to appreciate things. I think that's true.
But I was going to say also,
I don't think you do.
I remember him. I remember him getting on to his disciple for making an inescapable trap. But he also pins people against each other, meaning that at least one person isn't going to survive it. He makes people choose between each other, which is not like you're making somebody decide if their life is more valuable than the other person's.
I could be wrong, but I think
the Buddha?
That sounds like he's a capitalist. You have to compete to survive.
Exactly.
Sounds like Squid Games,
He's
bro.
taking it.
I could be wrong, but I think there's always a way out for every character the traps that he creates.
I thought it was like you have to get the key to your chains in the stomach of the other person and shit.
does that
or
sometimes.
something like that. You have to kill someone else so you can survive.
Exactly. He definitely does that. One lady is a heroin addict, and he makes her dive into like a pit of syringes. And
yeah, but I think was that trap designed by his disciple or designed by him? I can't remember.
That could be. I think that is the one where she's the one in charge.
I don't know. I think I remember that on the first one.
No. In the first one, it's only those two guys.
But it's like when your dad catches you smoking and it makes you smoke a whole pack. Like you dive into a pit of syringes and you never want to stick yourself with a needle again.
For sure, but
he's just a good dad to all of us.
I just think that as the films progress, again, he's one of those characters that even if he had a philosophy or an ideology, he doesn't stick with it, and he's.
I think I could be wrong about this, but I think that the people that if you have to like dig a key out of their stomach, it's because they failed their test, and so now the key is in their stomach, and you're digging it out. So like. He might use people who did not appreciate life and didn't pass their test the first time to be a prop in the second one, the next test or something like that.
I just don't know that.
I'm just saying he's a good guy. He wouldn't do that.
I just don't know that if I was in that situation that I would consider like ending up with like missing limbs and with severe PTSD. I don't think that I would appreciate my life more on the other side. You know what I mean?
Well,
I don't think that I would saw off my limb and then be like, you know what, Jigsaw?
Well, in Saw 7, the guy from Princess Bride who saws off his limb is one of his disciples. So
that doesn't make sense.
That's what makes him a good character. He's flawed. Yeah, you can't be perfect. All right, Brandon, you need to tell us a little more about.
Similar to the Collector, I think the first one is the best because there's a lot of mystery around the character.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, with a lot of these, like argue for the character specifically because he is just a creature. He doesn't have lines. So it's hard to discuss like a personality or anything. He's just this evil, unknown entity who resurfaces every like 23 years. He consumes human body parts to sort of take them on. So when you first see him, he's just a dude in a truck with a trench coat, and they see him like dumping a body down his trash chute. So they investigate his house. They see his huge collection of bodies that he's like preserved. And then when they confront him later, it's revealed that he is like a demon or something because they run him over, and then like a wing pops out of his trench coat. And even though like any normal person should be dead at this point, he gets up and flies away.
And you see him like you hear his bones crunching, and you see him like kind of reforming his limbs.
So he's a literal demon.
something.
He has like runes inscribed on his blades that
That's
make
what I was
them.
gonna say.
The character design is awesome.
Yeah.
I think.
He
looks
really. His blades are magical.
They are. They're like insanely sharp. They're carved out of bone. And yeah, there's almost like there's like a language inscribed on them. So it almost is kind of implied that he is like from another dimension or possibly just from hell.
Immortal, because he keeps coming back.
And can I just also say that is the fact that that movie starts out with just a brother and sister on the back roads of America in like a shitty car, and you see him. He's a creepy as hell character when you just see him with his trench coat and his hat. And that alone is scary. They're being chased down by a psychopath on a back road.
He's just trying to run them off the road.
And that alone, like, that character is very, very creepy and, like, makes you, like, it unnerves you. And then, once you find out, I will say that the first time that I saw him, when it first shows his face and you kind of see him, like, screech as a demon, that kind of took me out of it the first time I watched it. But then, when you learn more about it...
It's a complete, like, tonal shift for sure.
Exactly.
You're not expecting
on that. And I thought that was amazing the first time I watched it, because it did not go where you expected it to go.
So, then I also like the film because it's not a good ending.
Yeah.
Justin Long gets captured and he gets his eyes harvested.
I also never understood why Justin Long had that rose tattoo on his belly. That's just a
why
weird
is
little
Justin Long
addition.
in this film?
No, exactly. And it's him and Eliza Dushku, right? Isn't she the sister?
I don't know who that
I don't
is.
remember.
And she was also like pretty heavy in early 2000s films, but
Brandon, did you talk about his like bombs that seek people's police cars out and stuff?
Okay, we're not there yet. We're not there yet.
We're still in Jeepers. We're still in the good part of Jeepers
So
Creepers.
second film is when they explain that he comes back every set amount of time, and then you get that cool scene where like the old man has him pinned in his barn and he's waiting for him to come back. But then in the third one, I can't even remember the story. It's just a slaughter fest. That van of his is like supernaturally decked out.
You can't shoot the tires. The tires don't
have, like, a
pop.
spear that
It's
shoots out of
indestructible. It has a spear that shoots out of the exhaust and it's homing.
No, it's not a spear. It's got a rope attached to it. It's a retractable spear.
Well, it's like a harpoon. And they're in like the woods and this thing is following them, like weaving around trees. It's magically like homing. Makes no sense. He had nothing like that in the previous two movies.
Guys, I'm sorry, I gotta stop real quick. We're actually gonna have to stop this podcast and restart in 4 days. Apparently there's a new Jeepers Creepers coming out in 4 days.
Oh, God.
There's one coming out on October 28th called Jeepers Creepers Reborn.
Dear Lord. Yeah, so no, the third one, that shit went like straight to DVD. One, because it's garbage. Two, because the director had been canceled by this point because he's a horrible person.
Yeah. Well, and there was like a big gap between the movies, right? Like, there's like
between
a
all
15
three
or
of them.
16 year gap.
The first one's like, what, 2001?
Yeah, 2001.
But in that video you sent me, John, it also talks about the comic. There's a
there's a comic book,
and it's about this.
That came out afterwards, right?
Yeah, afterwards. Okay. And it's this young dude sort of investigating like the stories about the creeper. And he finds out that the creeper exists in like ancient Native American folklore and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tied back to like Aztec sacrifices. Like they were feeding him sacrifices in order to like appease him so that he wouldn't just hunt them down and slaughter them.
Right.
So like every time he came back, they would have to like feed him a human so that he would go back into hibernation and not just slaughter their society.
Well, I just realized there's another connection to it. Because doesn't he also like people who are more afraid of him? Doesn't he like smell people's fear?
She does say that.
I think he does smell their fear,
Yeah, and he's like like he wants to scare people, and the more scared he gets them, the more like salivating.
They don't say that like the flesh is more like better tasting or anything like that. But I think that they do say like that's how he finds people. Like if he senses their fear, that's how he's able to hone in on them. Because he literally once he's revealed as a demon in the first one, you start to see him like flying around, like he's chasing them down in the car with his wings.
Yeah. So I sent y'all my honorable mention. If anyone can guess who that is, what character he plays.
You sent it?
Yeah,
I sent it in Discord.
Hold on.
This is my honorable mention.
A bodybuilder?
Wait, I know who that is.
You don't know who that is? Who is that?
I literally just saw this dude the other day. That's
No, you didn't. There's no way.
Who is it? Who is it?
This is the guy who plays the Archangel Uriel in the movie Demons at the Door.
God damn it!
I hate you.
Holy shit. I would not have thought of that in
That is my favorite 2000s horror film, by the way, Demons at the Door. And this is Bob Ciccirillo.
I actually watched that recently because you guys talked about it so much, and
Oh, you did?
I watched bits and pieces on
It's
YouTube,
not
and
good,
it was
dude. There's literally
was-
nothing good about it.
so they constantly mention this movie. It is the most dog shit
It's
film
the
ever.
lowest quality film
No,
I've
no,
ever
no,
seen
no,
in my
no.
life.
Okay.
Superseded by Thanksgiving Day.
I was about to say
Thanksgiving
Thanksgiving
Day is
I
solid,
also love
okay?
Thanksgiving Day.
Comparable. They could have been made by the same people.
Look what
or,
picture. Cash, grass, or ass. I was about to drop this picture in there. I'm not even
God
joking.
damn
I got it queued up already.
That's an amazing
I
character.
already got it, Brandon. What is it?
The Ginger Dead Man
Oh, yeah? Are you talking about...
with Gary Busey.
Are you talking about this guy right here, Brandon?
Oh God.
I had all three queued up. The
You
Ginger
piece
Dead
of
We can
Man.
also,
Just
if you
three
want to throw
terrible
in,
classics.
if you want to throw in that evil bong.
The
You ever
Evil
saw
Bomb.
that?
No.
No, I
That
never
was
saw
another
that.
one. So whenever I would go to like Hollywood Video back in the early
Hollywood
2000s.
Video. You didn't even go to
Yes.
Blockbuster.
No, of course not. I went to the off-brand one.
Fuck that mainstream shit.
Yeah, Hollywood Video is where it's at. Okay,
They had Game Crazy.
I would go there on like every Friday night. My mom would take me there and just let me pick out random movies. I don't know why. This wasn't a good idea. I was showing Bran the other day some of the fucked up Asian horror films
Oh
that I
God,
watched.
yeah.
But I would always see like Thanksgiving Day, Ginger Dead Man, and then Evil Bong. That was always one of the ones that I
Y'all,
would
look
see.
in the Discord. Look in the Discord chat.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to
Holy
say. There's
shit,
a
the crossover.
There's a crossover, and it's so good. There's also a Ginger Dead Man. It's like a Ginger Dead Man where he like is killing people at a disco or something like that.
Jesus.
It's incredible.
Look at the
But
newest
yeah,
picture in the Discord chat.
These Evil Bong movies are like Cheech and Chong, or Tommy. Yeah, Tommy Chong is the one that like produced a bunch of them. Let me just. Okay, so John just posted this Evil Bong 666. I just want to read some of these.
Oh yeah, these are
Some of
blurbs
these-
on here.
Yeah, these blurbs from critics. One of the best full moon films in years. Okay, so one of the best.
Full
ones from
Moon, by
this-
the way. Yeah, Full
from
Moon
this
is the one who makes
studio.
all of these movies that we're talking about are made by Full Moon Studios, which were making horror films in the 2000s.
This is the best one though. Set your expectations to OG Kush. Stock up on Girl Scout cookies and slip into the blue dream that is Evil Bong 666. Just that critic is obviously not to be trusted since they're just a
Oh,
complete.
Jesus. How many are there?
And do you see Tommy
Matson,
Chong?
please
on
look at the
those?
picture.
I've unfortunately
that's
been
one.
looking.
Look at that box set.
I see it.
Why is it Evil Bong 666?
I wish I didn't have to see it, but now I see it.
No.
What the hell?
So basically,
This is 2000s horror right here.
yeah, I feel
It's honestly a terrible era.
it's not good. That's why I'm saying I think you got to stick to some timeless classics. I don't
All right,
know
well,
what
hold
those
on.
are,
So-
but
Sorry, we're talking about honorable mentions. Yeah, I will say one of my favorite 2000s horror films, but it's like hard to zero in on a character from it, is The Descent.
Yeah, that's pretty intense. That is terrifying, the idea
Even
of being
if you're
stuck.
not claustrophobic, that
Yeah,
movie
it's
will
terrifying.
make you. Like, they're crawling through tiny caverns.
It's so tight and dark, and you're
And you
underneath
don't
the
even-
earth.
Exactly. It's like 45 minutes into the film before they even introduce, like, I think one of the girls just gets injured because they're spelunking. It's just
Yeah, exactly.
terrifying for them to be in a cave. And then you find out that there are these creatures in the cave that have just lived in the caves for centuries and have, like, adapted to living in darkness. Those characters are very creepy, but again, you can't really, like, zero in on one character. They're just creepy, like, basically inbred humans. But all of the female characters in that film, like, they
It's
go
all
through a
female
lot of
cast,
shit.
right?
Yeah, it's a full female cast. It's like a group of girlfriends who go into, I think it's set in, like on the Blue Ridge Mountains, I think. It's somewhere, but basically, like, all those girls are badasses. And another part of that film that I love is that there is a moment where, like, one of the girls thinks she's getting attacked, and she uses her pickaxe to kill the thing.
Oh yeah, that's
and it's her friend. She turns around and accidentally stabs her friend through the throat because she thinks she's getting attacked. And then she just has to like go on the rest of the movie with that guilt and like doesn't want to tell the rest of them what happened. But that movie stuck with me. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, I mean, Final Destination, I think, is another good movie.
I was going to argue for Death originally.
I like the first one.
I think that, like, the puzzle pieces, like the Rube Goldberg aspect of it, like trying to figure out...
Everything fits together some way?
Yeah, like trying to figure out how Death is going to get them is kind of like you're watching, you're like, okay, I think I can see this happening. Like, they'll give you little, like, teases like, oh, this knife is on the edge of this table, what's going to happen? And then, like, you know, you don't know how it's going to work out.
Also, like, you can't, I know that it's not a great film series, I'm not going to say that, but when there is a film that has completely fucked an entire generation, how often do you see people talking about how they won't drive behind logging trucks anymore?
Yeah, true.
Yes.
Like,
I actually reference it the opposite way. I say I
made an
specifically choose to drive behind log trucks.
All right, well, just because you're suicidal doesn't mean anything.
Every time we see a truck carrying anything, Erica says, get around that car. I don't want a Final Destination situation.
Exactly.
Anytime.
But do we say that about just getting on planes? You know what I'm saying?
No,
like,
no.
What is the line?
Roller coasters? You like the roller coaster one?
The roller coaster one freaked me out, and I definitely don't go on roller coasters. Not just because of Final Destination, just in general. I have
no issues with roller coasters.
So I think the time period gave us a lot of good horror movies, like fun horror films.
Mm-hmm.
The Ring?
Just no strong horror characters.
Yeah.
I can't argue for The Ring. I don't love The Ring, to be completely honest with you.
I think that girl is creepy, and I think that after watching it, I was like, wait, am I going to die?
But isn't...
Because I've seen it. You know what I mean? I was like panicking about that for a while.
Isn't The Ring also a remake, though?
It's
The Ring is a remake, yeah.
But it's Ringu is the original from 98.
It might be one of the first American remakes that's better. I was looking at that, and I was like, I think that I like the Ring story better than the Ringu.
I think the character design for her is scary.
It's
but
pretty cool, yeah.
But I think it being tied to like a videotape is just kind of stupid.
What are you talking about? Yes. Just because you could stop the videotape?
Just because you could literally decide not to rent that videotape?
Yeah, like, I don't feel in the mood for it today.
I think
what'd you say?
Just record over it?
Yeah, record over it so nobody else... Just put a Barney special on that shit.
Well, you know how to defeat it, right? How to defeat it? You have to make a copy of it or whatever, and
give it to
somebody else. Somebody else watches it. Yeah, you have to give it to somebody else.
You have to pass on the suffering.
Right. It's like
That's fucked.
Yeah.
What if you just move somewhere without a TV and she can't get you?
Yeah, because she has to come out of the TV, right?
Yeah, she has to come out of the TV.
Is it a statement on technology more than anything?
Yeah, it's about your addiction to TV.
There's nobody safer than the Amish from Ring
Even though
Girl.
you know the TV's going to kill you, but you can't go without
Another thing that's interesting about that movie is she sets out because she finds out that this girl was killed by her mother, and her mother and father were terrible to her, and she sets out to like, how do I stop this? Maybe I can stop it by helping this vengeful spirit. So she goes and tries to help her and like reclaim her remains and like get the police involved, and like she's like, okay, that's going to do it. But then at the end of the movie, it ends with the girl coming out and killing her boyfriend. So it turns out that the spirit is just evil. Like, it's not actually vengeful. It is just an evil spirit, which is kind of a cool horror twist in the end. We also get Paranormal Activity in this era, which is...
I never watched those. I can't...
Brandon and I couldn't even finish watching the first one at one time.
In my opinion, the first Paranormal Activity is one of the scariest movies ever because it feels so real.
Right. It's like found footage
genre.
That one, like, there's no... I wouldn't say there's, like, jump scares when you're watching it, but that one leaves you unnerved.
Yeah, it's terrifying because it's just your house.
Yeah, and like the scene where she gets dragged out of her bed by her foot, that like reignites that childhood fear of like being uncovered by the blankets.
Yes.
After you watch that movie, you're not letting a foot hang over the bed. Legitimately, it leaves you like terrified.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna wind down in a second. Let me talk about. We have 2 honorable mentions from Instagram. Jeff Mack trying to come through with the foreign independent film. He said Marie from the movie called High Tension. It's a French film.
Oh, fuck me! Why did I not talk about High Tension?
Tell us a little. Yeah. We're gonna try to wrap up soon, so give us a little bit about Marie from High Tension, just a little bit.
All right, that's one of those films where, first off, that's the director. He's been in charge of a lot of films since then. That's Alexander Aja, which I think also did the new It movie.
Oh, really?
He did. Let me see. He did The Hills Have Eyes remake.
Well, what makes Marie cool? Why did Jeff say
So
Marie?
Marie is amazing because she spends the entire film outrunning this crazed killer who is like killed an entire family that she was staying with during a road trip. It's a great film.
Why does it say online it says it's controversial? Why does it say it's controversial?
Okay, there's multiple really fucked up things in that film. One of the worst parts is that, so you see the killer, you actually never really see his face. It's like a really fat dude in like a truck who's like really greasy and gross. And at one point, it looks like he's getting head. And then he literally just throws a decapitated... He was using, like, the decapitated head to give himself
God.
head.
Yeah, that's... Yeah.
But...
Don't need to see that.
What makes Marie dope, though, in my opinion, besides... I actually didn't like that twist that much. She fights back in some of the best ways. Like, she lures him into, like, an abandoned greenhouse and pulls, like, a stake out of the ground that she, like... It's basically like a board of wood covered in nails. And she literally fights back and starts, like, beating the shit out of this other dude. It's a pretty intense movie, but it's very good.
All right. Now our friend Luis, who's been on the X-Men episode and the Avengers episode, the MCU episode, he said that Sam from Trick or Treat is the best part of the anthology. That's an anthology series, and I have not seen it either.
I haven't seen it, and I've always heard really good things about it, which is surprising. Like it looked like one of those pretty low budget, crappy films to me, but it's actually considered a modern classic.
Yeah, apparently it didn't get very good distribution, but it did do well on some film festivals from when I was researching after he said that.
And yeah, that's kind of an iconic costume now. I feel like you see that a lot around Halloween now.
It's just like the bag on the head. It's like a kid.
Yeah, it's like a burlap sack, and then he's got like an orange jumpsuit on. And I think that in that film, he kind of moves between the stories, and I think he ends up also being a killer.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's an anthology series that has like a strong thread in between it, is from what I could see. I might check that out, though. It sounds kind of interesting. Okay, we will do categories now. Let's try to do them quickly. So, aesthetics. We've got Coraline, who is, like a stop-motion girl. Although I do love the like button eye aesthetic in Coraline. That's fucking terrifying. Shit. We have the Collector, who's kind of like what? You want to post a picture of it in the Discord?
I think the film as a whole, the aesthetic of it is very industrial. It's a very like grimy feel to it. Like especially they go into the basement and there's a very industrial, disgusting warehouse feel. So the aesthetic of the film as a whole, I wouldn't give it to, but the character, very like BDSM inspired. There
you go, Mattson. You haven't seen it. There he is.
Yeah, this looks like a B grade film, if even.
Oscar from.
Well, he's just
from
a really
Let the Right One In.
12-year-old.
I think yeah, but I don't know. I like him.
His
I think
sweaters go hard. He wears some bomb sweaters.
He's got like the coolest emo cut for his hair.
Yeah,
but I also think again as a whole that film, the aesthetic of like a creepy like snowy little town,
cold, dark, snowy.
You never really see the sun in that movie, right?
You do. There's a couple scenes during the day.
So it's like 30 Days of Night.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. We didn't mention 30 Days of Night, but
that's such a fun.
It's a good movie, but the characters are not that great necessarily.
I do like Josh Hartnett in that one, actually.
I wanted to argue for a Josh Hartnett character so bad. That's what I said coming into this.
Didn't work out.
But just none of them were that great.
Just nothing. There was nothing.
It's just not in any good films.
You know what else?
He's in so many good films.
You know what else I forgot about that came out at this time that is also a very, very unnerving film is Strangers.
I wanted to talk about that too, but
that movie's very unnerving.
Yeah, that was the first film that I watched in theaters that I will say that was the first horror film that made me feel sick to my stomach.
It's hardcore.
It's very intense.
But no characters to argue for. That's what we keep saying. Like, there's good movies sometimes, but not necessarily good characters.
Yeah.
I think
28 Days Later.
Oh, 28 Days Later is so good.
I wanted to throw it in there because I know you wanted to talk about it.
Oh my God, Shaun of the Dead is also considered a horror comedy, and it's Shaun of the Dead is a near perfect movie. I love that movie.
I would say
that movie's
that
so
like
good.
set the stage for horror comedies to make a comeback. In my opinion,
It's so good. But yeah, we got to keep doing this. So aesthetic, what Patrick Bateman? That aesthetic is fucking perfect for what it is. Who else do we have? We have
I like
Creeper.
The otherworldly appearance of the Creeper.
Oh, I think the Creeper, honestly, you could ruin that character by the reveal of the monster, and I think that he's good. I think he looks good.
Yeah, I like
He's got kind of a predator face.
Yeah, he's got the like talons coming off of his mouth, and
like the bat wings.
I think the wings are what make it, especially because like in the later films, you see him like encase people with his wings and like decapitate them.
I'm fine with giving aesthetic to the Creeper. What do y'all think?
That's what I would say personally.
Yeah, I think out of these, I mean, I do like Coraline, but for horror aesthetic, I wouldn't give it to her.
Okay, what about like their three dimensionality? They make sense to us. Like I said, Jigsaw is like for the. I hate torture porn.
I did not like your analysis of Jigsaw. If I'm being,
I don't like torture porn, but at least Jigsaw has a fucking. At least Jigsaw has a fucking motive. Like all those other torture porns, like House of 1,000 fucking corpses. I hate that shit. Like
I can't get into Rob Zombie as a director.
The Hills Have Eyes, like The Hostel, like
They're
all
all
those
just
movies.
like a dime a dozen.
There's no fucking motive. Yeah, it's just a bunch of. The motive is go watch people get killed. And honestly, I don't know if you like that stuff. I don't know who you are.
Okay, hold on.
If you like watching people get just dissected, I don't.
The first Hostel is similar to American Psycho, where there's a lot about. I mean, it's literally rich people
does it have something to say?
Poor people.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then that's fine. If it's got a message, then that's fine.
If it's a message about human trafficking, we're in.
Well, because that's something. It has something to say,
and it's terrifying. The human trafficking aspect in that film is terrifying. And then The Hills Have Eyes is basically like, again, inbred savages who they don't want their way of life to be changed.
Oh yeah, so it's like Trump supporters.
Exactly, and it's a liberal family coming in, and they're like, you can't change our way of life. We're gonna make the desert great again.
Oh my God, you're right.
I like both of those films.
Whose character makes the most sense? Like I said, Jigsaw has a motive. Christian Bale is literally like a soulless husk in that movie as Patrick Bateman, but I think that he perfectly represents capitalism and like yuppie culture and stuff.
I would say that his is the most fleshed out, and I would say the Creeper, except the fact that it weakens him as the series goes on.
Yeah, I mean, Creeper and Collector are almost better without.
We're talking about like three-dimensionality backstory, like who's a character that makes sense. I think Oscar from Let the Right One In.
I think a character that makes the most sense is Coraline.
Well, yeah, Coraline, she's repressed and she's neglected and she's looking for an outlet, and then she kind of...
You could say the same thing about Oscar.
Yeah.
Oscar is also an outcast who has to like find the strength to stand up to his bullies and stuff like that. And also, I think I appreciate something else about Oscar, which is he finds love with another outcast, a societal outcast. Like he really does. He kisses a vampire after she's eaten somebody. Like he's got blood on his lips. He's got blood on his lips, but
he really does let the right one in.
He's so innocent. Well, and that's the other thing too. I think the title I was reading, the title might have a double meaning of like, who do you love? You know, like Oscar loves this androgynous. You know, he doesn't know that she's an androgynous monster at first, but he like comes to find that out. Let the right one in. Like, who do you fall in love with? You know, make sure you're the right person.
You just changed my mind. I was going to say Patrick Bateman, but no, I think I'm going to give it to Oscar. I think he is a pretty well-rounded character. And I feel like his arc kind of gets. I feel like you get a good beginning, middle, and climax to his arc.
Well,
you know
and it's cool. And it's cool because you know, Ellie. I don't know how they pronounce. Yelle is how they pronounce her name. They save him in the end, but then he also makes the decision to leave his family and become her familiar. He makes that decision. Mm-hmm. Which one is the most horrifying? And maybe not character, because we have Oscar, who's not really a monster or anything, but like the situation is kind of creepy and horrifying that he's like solely falling in love with a vampire. And
I'm not afraid to say that the most terrifying character is the Collector.
Yes.
Like, I'm not even going to put...
I got one. Put it on the board.
I don't know. The button-eyed mom
I won't even, honestly,
in Coraline...
as far as horrifying, I'm not even going to give it to the Collector. I will say the Creeper.
The Creeper is pretty terrifying.
Him in his trench coat was terrifying enough, and then when they reveal the demon, still terrifying. Like you said, that could have ruined it, and it didn't. It just gave it was a shift in the film, and it was still enjoyable. So I'll give it to the Creeper on that one.
It's much scarier for me when it could be a human.
Yeah,
Patrick,
like just a creepy dude on the backside of a road that's like abandoned. That's terrifying.
Patrick Bateman is a successful, handsome, muscular, like...
All that is actually true.
And he is all of those things, but he's also a fucking psychopath shell of a human being.
I think the fact that I don't... Because, we mentioned two of his specific types of victim. Women and, like, people lower in society. Okay, don't get me wrong. I don't have the money of a fucking, Wall Street broker. But I don't see myself as somebody who would be a possible victim of his. So I think that's maybe why I don't find him as scary of a character. I think he's an interesting character. I just don't think he's scary.
I mean, he does fucking hatchet that dude in the head, so nobody's safe.
Yeah. Hey, Paul.
Literally more successful than him, and still just...
That's true.
Bran, who do you consider for most terrifying?
Yeah, I think like being hunted down by the Creeper, because they're just ordinary dudes on the road, like completely unprovoked.
Also, if you think about his methodology and the fact that if you have organs that he likes, you're screwed. Like there's no way to change that.
Yeah.
Them's his organs? Is that what you're saying?
Just because Justin Long had beautiful eyes means he's going to die.
That's so stupid.
Like the situation with the Collector is also very disturbing, but it's harder to...
Well, that's the other thing too.
Put yourself
Maybe the Collector
in that scenario,
is scary.
I guess.
I don't know. It reminds me of The Strangers because it's like a home invasion, and then also like there's no negotiation. Why are they there? They're not there to rob you. They're there because they literally want to kill you, just torture you and kill you, which is like
the thought of like him having been, an exterminator that they hired. And gave him full
that's pretty
access
terrifying.
to the
Actually,
home. It's like that's really terrifying.
All right, well. We will do a 3, 2, 1 and make a decision on the character. So let me see who I think.
All right, let's vote.
Yeah, let's decide scariest, character that makes the most sense, cool aesthetic, most 2000s horror-y. Who are we gonna pick? Y'all ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In 3, 2, 1, Jigsaw.
Patrick. Okay,
Matt, did you even say anything?
Ceci and Matt didn't say anything.
Matthew didn't say anything, and the three of us said something different.
God damn it.
All right, so
Matt and Cecy, what do y'all say?
I say nothing.
Say Patrick.
The thing is,
Who'd
I
you say,
have to
John?
abstain from a vote because it's all just so poopy, dude.
I can't laugh.
Who'd John say?
John said
Cecy, who'd you say?
Jigsaw.
I didn't vote.
You don't want to vote for anybody?
Dude, it just all sucks.
But there has to be a
don't
best
know.
even among the worst.
there really doesn't.
Ceci's dying right now.
Yeah, she's dying.
Yeah, I can't laugh because of my surgery, and that just made me like really bust out laughing.
I mean, either way, like there's not really going to be
right,
I don't think she's going to choose a tiebreaker anyway.
Yeah, someone's got to...
Cecy, who you picking?
I'd say the Creeper because that's like very super just of the time period, what was coming out, like those kind of like teens being murdered movies that were happening at the time in horror, and he's super creepy. The whole movie has a cool vibe. It's a fun watch.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with.
All right.
Go with
I say Patrick Bateman. So now it's a tie between Creeper
You
and
piece
Patrick
of
Bateman.
shit. Shut up.
Damn it.
Are we gonna say the Creeper then? The Creeper is the best character.
I'm sticking to the Creeper.
That's 2 votes for Creeper then.
2 votes for Creeper.
All
right. Well, we
Wasn't
figured it
easy to
out
get
though.
here.
Oh, it was,
No, it was not. It was so hard from planning to now. So difficult, and we ended up with. Was the work worth it? Because we ended up with the Creeper from Jeepers Creepers. we truly, all of us are in different pieces right now. We'll have to.
I changed my vote. Like, I voted for Patrick. But in terms of true horror, like, Jeepers Creepers is, like, my favorite.
There you go. All right, well, then there he is, the Creeper. That is your 2000s horror
Because
character.
that's just horror. We talked about,
Crossovers and
multi-genre.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
Jeepers Creepers is just a purely horror film.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like all of the movies except The Collector.
God damn it.
I haven't
keep
watched
losing
it, but
these things.
now I need to because
Yeah, you need
it
to
just
watch it,
looks
Matt.
so
Right.
shitty.
To
No one
understand.
needs to.
Everybody
need
watch
to
The
watch it.
Collection also.
No.
Just because then you're going to appreciate The Collector more, okay? When you see how bad the
You
second
have
one
to
is,
watch
you're
a
going to
bad movie
appreciate the
to-
first one more.
All right, and everybody go watch Thanksgiving Day, Ginger Dead Man, and Demons at the Door.
Okay, we're over. We're done here.
All right.
I can't believe it. We did it again. We figured out who the best character is in whatever we're talking about, despite the podcast being called Your Favorite Character Sucks. Now the only question is, what should we do next? You can help us decide by following us at YFCS Pod on Instagram and Twitter, and telling us which show, movie, series, book you think we should do. Until then, hit that subscribe button and catch us on the next episode. Thanks for listening.